What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we are less than a week away from a major election, okay? And you might think, oh, no, this is just a midterm election. It's not a big deal. This is a major election for people receiving Social Security currently, okay? And not just currently. When it comes to Social Security, it affects all of us, okay? So even if you're not collecting, I'm not collecting Social Security right now. Even though I'm not collecting Social Security, I should be paying attention to what's going on because this will affect me down the road, just like everyone else who's not collecting Social Security. It's going to affect you down the road, as well as it's going to affect the people who are currently receiving Social Security. So we're going to go over that. We're going to talk a little bit about this article. I'm going to show you this website, and I encourage you, strongly encourage you to go over to this website and sign up for their newsletter. They will be sending out information. We'll talk a little bit about the website in a minute. But before we talk about that, we are going to talk about the Federal Reserve. Just a quick little overview of the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. We do daily videos here, so make sure you click all, and you should be getting those daily updates. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve will be raising interest rates today. This is no surprise. It's probably going to be 75 basis points. And when we're looking at this, the reason why they're doing this is they're trying to cool off our economy. Okay, I continue to repeat this over and over again just so people understand what's going on when it comes to why are they raising interest rates. And basically, if you look at it, and I think the housing market is probably the best way for us to look at this and understand. At least for me, it just makes so much more sense because right now people aren't buying houses, and there's a reason for that. And let me just show you. I want to show you quickly the reason why people are choosing not to buy a house. Okay, so I have the mortgage calculator open right now, and this is just on Google. I just typed in mortgage calculator, and then you see this number here, 3,500. Okay, so $3,550. That's how much a $500,000 house would cost, 30-year fixed at 7.657. Okay, at that interest rate. Now let's just go back 1 year. If we go back 1 year, if you have good credit and you get 3%, 30-year fixed instead of this 7.6, and that's what people were getting, 3%, right? If you look at that, look at the difference in price. So that's $1,400 less that you would have paid last year compared to what we're looking at right now. And so, of course, you're not going to want to buy a house because you could buy a house for either $2,100 a month or $3,550 a month if you were to purchase it right now. And so that cools off the economy. That's what they're talking about when they're saying they want to cool the economy off. They want to make it less desirable for you to go and spend money. And so, and not just people, but businesses as well. They want to make it less desirable. So if interest rates are high, people aren't going to want to take out these loans to buy a house, buy a car, to upgrade their facilities, businesses, and things like that. They're just not going to want to do that. And by doing that, the hope is that inflation will start to drop because right now people are buying, people are spending money. And the only way that we're going to get inflation to drop is by making it less desirable for people to spend money. And so that's what we're looking at. It looks like it's going to be 75 basis points again. And then in December, they're going to have to evaluate it and see if they're going to raise interest rates in December. But this is the situation when it comes to the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, and this is why they're doing it. I think, like I said, the housing market is the easiest way for us to really understand it because, yes, if last year you could get a house and for $1,400 less than you could this year, then you're really going to start second guessing, should I buy a house now because maybe I should wait until the interest rates go back down and then buy a house because I can save some money by doing that. So just wanted to talk a little bit about that, but I want to go to this article because this is a really good article, and this website here, the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. If you are not on their newsletter, I highly recommend that you go over to their website and sign up for their newsletter. I actually signed up for the newsletter. All you need to do is put in your email and your name, and they'll send you out newsletters when there's updated information. Okay. Now it says up at the top here, trusted, independent, effective. Okay. When we're looking at these different think tanks, these different groups, It's always, I mean, you want to look at people coming from an independent idea, right? You don't want to look at just one side slanted. Now, some people will look at this article. This is by Max Richmond. They're going to look at this article and say, well, no, it's slanted towards the left. That's what they're going to say. But the reality is there's nothing in this article that is incorrect. They're actually bringing up the key points when it comes to Social Security and Medicare. And so we're going to take a look at it. Let me zoom in just a little bit here so you guys can see it a little bit better, the wording. So when it comes down to it, whichever party controls Congress will influence whether Social Security and Medicare will continue as we know them or be weakened and privatized. The outcome depends largely on how older Americans who cast ballots more reliably than any other age group vote in 2022. Okay, so it's very, very imperative and very, very important for you to know who these politicians are and how they feel about Social Security and Medicare. Okay, and not just older people, everyone. We should all be paying attention to this because we're all paying into Social Security. Okay, the vast majority of us, not every single one. Some people receiving pensions aren't paying into Social Security, are paying that payroll tax. But for the most part, the vast majority of the American people, whether you're retired now or you're currently working, you're paying into this system, and you should care what's going on with this system and how this system will be in 10 years from now and 20 years from now. Okay, so basically what they're doing, I'm not going to go over the whole article because I do want you to go over to this website and you can check out this article. I'll post a link in the description so you can check it out. So when I say in the description of this video, there'll be a link. So when you go down, you'll see more information. You can click on that. And then the comment section, at the very top of the comment section, I'll post a link to this article as well, so you can check it out. But basically what they're talking about, they're just talking about the differences between what Democrats want and what Republicans want. Okay. And it's different. It's different. You might have politicians come out there. Senator Scott just came out a couple of days ago and said, no, he doesn't have any plans. He doesn't know a Republican that wants to cut Social Security. But there are Republicans out there right now that are talking about privatizing Social Security. They're talking about raising the age limit when it comes to Social Security. That's another thing that Senator Scott said, no, we have no plans to raise the age of retirement, to collect your full retirement. But you have politicians out there that are clearly stating that, and they're on the Republican side. Okay, so it's very, very important not just to listen to one politician and say, okay, yeah, look, he said that they're not going to touch Social Security. It's very important for you to know your politician, the person who you are voting for, know how they feel about Social Security and Medicare. Okay, so basically, the article is talking about Democrats have made earnest efforts to boost Social Security and Medicare, which is true. Okay. And one thing when it comes to getting legislation done, we know how our government works. Okay. It's not just one person. You can have Senator Bernie Sanders out there saying, you know what, I want a $2,400 raise for Social Security. That doesn't mean that it will get done. You have to have cooperation. You have to have cooperation on both sides in order to move forward with legislation for the most part. Okay. Now, we saw some reconciliation bills go through, but that is very uncommon. And when you're looking at a situation where you have one politician or a couple of politicians, or we'll even say a few Democrats that say we want a $2,400 raise for Social Security, and then you have no support at all from Republicans, what is that saying about the expansion of Social Security? What is that saying? That's saying that the Republicans, they don't want to move forward with any type of $2,400 raise for Social Security. And Senator Graham has said, we don't want to expand Social Security. That's not our plan. We'll address the trust fund. We'll have people work until they're 70, but we're not focused on trying to expand Social Security. And we also heard Senator Scott say this a couple of days ago. We're not, actually he's been saying this for a while, but I posted a video a couple of days ago talking about this. They're not interested in reducing the cost of prescription medication. Why? Because that would be a cut to Medicare. That's the way they look at it. If you reduce the cost, it's going to be a cut because the pharmaceutical companies won't be getting the same amount of money. So you know what? They're not going to do the research. That's their whole strategy. That's their whole, what they're saying will happen when it comes to saving money having the federal government save money when it comes to prescription medications. But they're not looking at when it comes to veterans, they do the same thing. They're able to negotiate drug prices. And by negotiating the prescription medication, they're able to get them at a lower cost, veterans are. Does that mean that these pharmaceutical companies aren't doing the research anymore? There's a case example right there. But this is not what we're hearing. This is not what we're hearing from Republicans. And like I said, when it comes down to it, I don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. And when it comes to seniors, if we go down on this list here, when it comes to seniors, they actually vote more conservative for the most part. But financially, it does affect Social Security by voting for Republicans. I'm just saying. I'm not saying all Republicans want to do away with Social Security, want to privatize Social Security, but I am saying that you have a large group of Republicans that do not want to move forward with any type of expansion of Social Security. For sure, no expansion, and they do want you to work longer. And right here, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to seniors. Voters over 65 went for Donald Trump by 4 to 5 points in 2020's presidential election. Okay, so they voted, the vast majority, 65 or older, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Okay. And then when we're looking at here, a new poll released August showed Republicans with a 15-point lead over Democrats among seniors in the upcoming midterm. Okay, so looking at the midterm election, seniors are actually moving towards voting for Republicans. Okay, and this is when it comes to just across the board, when we're looking at our history tells us that Republicans should be able to take over the House and might even be able to take over the Senate. That's just that balance that we like to see, okay? Not just seniors, but just the American people. We like to see a balance. If the presidency is being controlled by Democrats, we like to see Republicans take control of the Congress. And if Republicans control the White House, then we like to see Democrats controlling Congress. That's the way it goes. That's our history has shown us this. So this is nothing different. But all I'm saying is you have to look at what are these politicians going to do for me? Okay. Political analysts note that seniors have gravitated towards Republicans because of cultural issues. Okay. So cultural issues, that's why you have seniors gravitating towards Republicans rather than voting in their best economic interests. And so basically, this is a very, very crucial election. And just looking at some of the candidates that we have out there, you have Ron Johnson, and Ron Johnson has said, you know what? This should be discretionary spending. Social Security and Medicare should be discretionary spending, and we should look at this every year to see if we should move forward with these programs. You have Rick Scott that's had his 12-point plan, and in Rick Scott's 12-point plan, every 5 years will sunset Social Security and Medicare, and we need to look into Social Security. These politicians have openly said this, okay? So if they're saying they don't want to cut Social Security or cut Medicare, then why are we going to sunset them? Why are we going to have this review every year? Is it to expand Social Security? Is that why you want to have the review? No, the review is every year it's going to be automatic. If you don't move forward, then the programs will automatically go away. And that's the leverage that they would have, because they could say, okay, well, we're just not going to do anything and we're just going to let them go away. And of course, Democrats are not going to want to do that, and they're going to come to the table and they're going to try to work out some type of an agreement, which would probably mean some cuts when it comes to Social Security, and that's how that's going to work. And then you have Blake Masters in Arizona. He's talked about privatizing Social Security. He's very, very openly talked about this. And privatizing Social Security would be a disaster, because now we'll be in a situation where your Social Security would be much like a 401k, where at some point it would run out. And when it runs out, then what do? If you outlive your Social Security, now you're really in a bind. So this is a very, very crucial time, and we really need to pay attention to what's going on. I just wanted to bring this information to you. I will post the link so you can take a look at this article. I think it was an excellent article just talking about how crucial this midterm election is for people on Social Security and Medicare. If you guys have any questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.